Bulawanaka, and welcome to Gold FM Speak Your Mind. And this week, today actually, we tackle the issue that of water, something very important in our lives, something that we can't. And I know this from personal experiences, we can't live without. And joining me and lighting up the studio this, afternoon, the Gold FM studio, welcome to the show, Ms. Eleanor Oganimbaravi, the Principal Policy Analyst of the Department of Water and Sewage. And also being joined by Iva Koreisamanunu, the Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene Officer at the Secretariat of the Pacific Community. A very good afternoon to you, ladies.
Good afternoon, Pedeli.
Yeah. Right, water, the importance of water. We all know how important this is, and there's a day put aside, March the 22nd, to celebrate. Now, why a day? Why a day, and how did this come about? I'll ask Eva first. I'll ask Eva first.
Thank you very much, Pedeli. A very good afternoon to all our listeners out there. As you mentioned earlier, water is a very important resource, natural resources. And a day to celebrate water is quite important because everyone needs water. We all need water to survive, not just the human being, but plants as well. All living beings need water. So this day to celebrate water started off in 1999 by the United Nations General Assembly. But in Fiji, we started off celebrating World Water Day, I think, in about 2003. And it's been happening from then until now. The reason why we need to have water is because in 2003, they launched what is called the Millennium Development Goal. And we're trying to have people have access to water supplies, sanitation. So this year, being 2015, and the global theme being water and sustainable development, we're trying to check back on how we've achieved in terms of accessing water supply around the world. And bring this closer to home is here in Fiji, looking at the situation that we have and looking at the current stats that we have through the joint monitoring program, that we are on par with regards to accessibility to water supply. But sanitation is something that we still need to work on a little bit more for Fiji alone. But I'll be speaking more frankly on the Pacific region as well. At the moment, recent stats in 2003 and the snapshot of the Pacific, it says that we're about 57% rather, in terms of water supply accessibility. That's about just above half of the percentage. Yeah? Yes. So we'll know we in the Pacific are quite unique because of our location and also the difference between atoll islands and highlands. So water is quite important for us. Here in Fiji, we're quite fortunate. We can say we have enough water supply, but we can't say the same thing about the small island nations like Tuvalu, Kiribati, who struggle to have access to water all the time. So that's why it's important. It's a day to observe water and also a day to talk about how important water is and also to make people aware about how important this resource is and for them to know how they can manage the little that they have now.
Well, looking from a regional introduction for the perspective of Water Day, we look to our local and being driven by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport through the Department of Water and Sewage. And thank you, Eleanor, for joining us again this afternoon. Now, let's look at the approach for our national approach to water, World Water Day.
Yes, thank you, Pedeli. As Eva has said, water is very important. And from the national point of view, you cannot have sustainable development if you don't have water. And, water actually contributes to every aspect of life and for our everyday living and also for development. And in the previous years, Fiji has celebrated water and in food security, water and energy. And this is the driving force behind our economy as well. And from the government point of view is, if we don't have good infrastructure and we don't have good quality water, then we cannot attract investors into the country. And also we look at the health of our population and community. Therefore, government places water at a very high important aspect of the services that we provide for the people of Fiji.
Now, it's interesting that this should be also there'll be a multi-sectoral approach to World Water Day celebrations. And I looked at it and it was like, what we don't understand, or the general public, we expect to have water. It's a basic need. And we don't look at really break it down to how important it is to other aspects of our lives. Okay, we know for certain health. You wash your hands. You need to keep it clean. And also with respect to the Ministry of Health. And looking at how important that they also disseminate that type of information. Now, with the UN, they put out. I looked at some of what was available, the material. It was very, very simple, clean approaches. Clean hands can save lives. Yeah. Now from that simple statement, we look at what is behind it. Now, would you care to expand a little bit about from the health section?
Okay. Pedeli, I've been talking about the economic bit of it. Okay, you've got to have a healthy population and a healthy workforce to be able to generate that income, or to get things moving within the country. We cannot move forward if we have a very sickly population. So that is the idea behind having that clean water, like you said. Yeah. If we have a very sickly population, then we'll be spending most of our budget on trying to, get people well, to get them to work and get them to generate income. So this is the idea behind us promoting clean water.
Can I just add on to what Eleanor said? Like you said, that statement, clean hands saves life. We have some incidents of waterborne diseases such as typhoid and diarrhea, which is related to water. And also, again, speaking from the Pacific perspective, the Pacific region have a very high incidence of diarrheal cases reported, especially with children under 5. So the importance of having access to clean, safe water is quite important. And that's why with this World Water Day, every year we try to target the schools. Because we feel that the children are agents of change. If we try to talk about water and promote water conservation and management in schools and involve students in participating in activities such as poster competition, murals, it will empower them and make them to think how important these resources is. And when we look at water, it's not just for basic needs, like for drinking, for washing, for cooking. It's for food production, as you said. When there's no water, it affects our food security, industrialization, workforce, health, economy-wise. So that's why it's important to always target. That's why we're targeting students in terms of, and we have activities for schools, which Eleanor can elaborate more on that.
All right, we'll do that very shortly, ladies. But for now, we'll take a very short break here on Gold FM. Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM, Speak Your Mind, and we are talking about World Water Day. And for those of you who just caught the last bit, we did talk a little bit about the approach that the national, the national approach for World Water Day, and how important it is to have our agents of change, and that's school children, involved in programs such as this. Now, Eleanor, if you could just tell us a little bit more about what this entails.
Thank you, Pedeli. The way we see it, or what we believe in, is children, as Eva has said, are the catalysts for change. And if you want people to change their mind, the older people are a bit too old. They've got their mindsets already, so it's quite difficult to get them to change behavior. So we target children because, say, 5-10 years' time, we can see that change taking place. And the main thing that we would like to drive with children is the conservation of water, because we tend to take water for granted, especially us here in Suva. While we are taking water for granted here, we have members in the West or maybe out in the islands that are actually suffering because they don't have enough water. So therefore, with the ministry, we have moved around in the last 3 years, just taking out World Water Day out into the communities to raise awareness and the importance of water conservation, water quality, the quality of water that they drink. So this year we're taking it to Nandi.
Okay, so this is where the center of the celebrations will be?
Yes,
Okay.
the center of the national celebration for Fiji is in Nandi, and we're having it at Koroivolu Park
Right.
on Friday, the 20th of March.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that program, Pedeli, starts off with a march through Nandi town by the Fiji military forces, and followed by the children and our stakeholders. And then our chief guest for World Water Day is the Chief Executive Officer of Water Authority of Fiji, Mr. Opataya Ravai. Yeah, and then we have a full day program for the children. We have quizzes, and all our stakeholders have been asked to bring in prizes that for whatever sets of questions that they have, they will provide prizes for that. And then we have a placard competition. That's for the secondary, primary, and also our kindy.
Okay.
Children are also participating. And then throughout the day, we have oratory contests happening. And then in between, we have the schools represented to come up with songs and entertainment throughout the day. So it's a full day program up until 3 p.m. And we look forward to just enjoying the day with our stakeholders and also with the community at large. So we actually inviting people around the Nandi area. There are booths that will be there, that they can always come in and see our stakeholders. They will all have a booth available on the day.
Now, you've got the Department of Water and Sewage involved, and you've got the SPC also involved. You've got Water Authority of Fiji also involved. Are there other stakeholders? How many other stakeholders involved?
Yes, Pedeli, we have Ministry of Agriculture, because they do flooding in Nandi and the Integrated Water Resource Management Program. And we have Itoke Affairs, because they deal with our rural communities out in the communities where they serve, And then we have Rotary Pacific Water for Life that does a lot of work out there. Then we have Mineral Resources Department that deals with boreholes, Department of Environment, and Ministry of Health, Ministry of Health.
What are the important words?
Yes, and Meteorological Services and Department of Energy. Those are some of the stakeholders that will be there to exhibit and also talk to the communities about the services that they provide.
Looking at that, it's just, mentioning all these different departments and sectors that are being involved with the celebration of World Water Day. It just goes to show just how multisectoral this approach is, the multisectoral approach for water, and how important it is. It even goes on to look at water. I read a little bit about into gender and equality, and looking at the economic aspects of it. And that's what we're is that one of the hopes and hoping to achieve, to have a little bit more awareness into just how wide it's not just about the water that we're using, but just how wide the effects are.
Yes, thank you, Pedeli. We're looking at the wide effects of it mainly in the ministries, giving back the dignity to women and children. Because if they had to go out and fetch water, it'll be women and children that will be sent out to fetch water. So what government is doing now is actually making it aware that government is stepping in and putting up developments and schemes in place that we give back that dignity to women, that they sit at home and do other things, tend to more important things in the family rather than going out to fetch water. Yes. And I forgot to mention Water Authority will be part of the exhibition as well. And they'll also be giving out their forms for that free water.
Okay.
Um,
And
yeah,
I'm sure a
policy.
lot will be very interested
Yes.
in that.
So come on down. Water Authority
Friday.
will be there Friday.
Koroivolu Park in
Koroivolu Park from 9:30 to 3 p.m.
Now, well, we mentioned that, Eva. I'm also looking at, how well are we in the Pacific? You mentioned that 57% of receiving, good water and good sanitation. How well are we performing against the rest of the world?
It's still a struggle.
We still have a lot of work to
we
do.
still have a lot of work to do. Now, most of the countries in the Pacific still haven't even reached halfway or even reached the Millennium Development Goal. Maybe for countries like Fiji, Samoa, Vanuatu, we've reached in terms of half the population having access to water. But then, I always say it's one thing to have access to water, it's another thing to have access to clean, safe water. Water that is safe for everyone to use, to consume, and also it will not cause any sickness to us. And I think it's very good to get buy-ins from our leaders and governments. And I think Fiji is in progress in doing that with the provision of free water to all its consumers, just to ensure that every people in Fiji have access to water. So I think countries have started to work together in terms of providing water. In a recent interview by the National Geographic to the president of Kiribati, and he was asked to rank which are the most important issues in Kiribati with relation to water security, food security, and then he said it's water security because it's the lifeline and everything. Because without water, you won't be able to survive. So we all know how important this water is. And, we've gone through a few drought situations here in Fiji and also in other Pacific Island countries. So, yep.
Especially at this time with the tropical cyclone.
Yep.
All right. Any final remarks before we wrap up our segment? Final invitation?
Yes, thank you, Pedeli. We invite the communities out there in Nandi. Please do come and support World Water Day and meet our stakeholders that will be there to provide the services for you. And if you have any questions, that's the time to raise it. We can always direct you in the right direction should you have requests. Yeah. And we look forward to spending the day with the school children. Pedeli, it's always a joy to be around children. And just seeing the wealth of creativity out there, I'm just looking forward to the placards, really. And, just being with them is a joy, and just to see, what they come up with for this World Water Day and with the theme, water and sustainable development.
Well, thank you very much, ladies, for joining us on the show this afternoon.
Thank you.
And good luck to the program, and I will see whether I can make it to Nandi at Koroivolu
It'll
Park.
be a joy to have you. You can be MC.
See, I knew that we're going to throw that in. Well, thank you very much, ladies, and we'll be right back. We'll be talking about ageism with an actress and also, a stylist extraordinaire, a diva, really, right after this on Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. And, you can hear her. But if you're one of those who think that, the type of clothing that we wear, the style of clothes that you wear define who you are, well, get ready to meet a lady that is proud to be growing old in style. Now, I'm not even sure whether I should say the word old around her anymore. Now, welcome to the show, Bridget Sojourner, or known here in Fiji as Budge.
Okay.
Now, you've had a lot of strong ties to Fiji.
Yes. A
Now,
long time ago now.
yeah. So where? For those who don't know you, where are you originally from?
The south of England, so Hampshire, Sussex, along the coast. And now I live in London. And I think I'm a Londoner now. I've lived there a long time.
But constantly in Fiji every now and then.
Constantly all over the world I've worked. And then in Fiji in the 70s. And then I came back again and again. And my son lives here. And my other son, both sons married Pacific Islanders. So I got Pacific Island children mixed with Afro-Caribbean, English now, great-grandchildren. So it's a multicultural world and family.
Well, with that colorful family comes the style.
It does.
It does. Now, just looking at the outfit, and now, where does this all come from?
I think it must have come from my mother, who wore amazing hats. And then I think I can remember vaguely when I was 10 or 11 drawing fashion. I was always very interested in fashion, but now I wouldn't call it fashion, I'd call it style.
Style.
Yes.
Now, the reason also why we are featured tonight today is because of a little movie or film, a documentary really, that you were involved with. It was done in 2013, but has become a major hit worldwide. Now, the documentary is called Fabulous Fashionistas. Do you call yourself a fashionista?
No, I don't like that title. We had a bit of an argument, debate rather than argument about that with Channel 4, who made the film, and the director. But they wanted to call it that. And I suppose actually it did ring some, it did touch something, the title. So I wanted to call it Grandnan Style, after
Really?
Sai, you know. I thought that would be good.
Grandnan style.
Grandnan Style.
Yeah, with its
But
own
no,
dance.
they didn't really want that. No, we didn't have the dance in it.
It's interesting because it's the lives of 6 women
Yeah,
with an average age of 80.
80.
I'm going to ask the rude question.
Yes,
Can I ask the rude question?
yes.
How old are you now?
I'm nearly 78. And when you said, should you mention old? Yes, it's great. It's an amazing time of life.
Now, how do you how do people respond to you normally?
To me,
And when they see you, how
well, I suppose as I've got older in England, a lot of people have noticed what I wear. So that was the first intimation I had that maybe I could use that when I became very aware of ageism in society. I'd been through all the other campaigns, you know,
Yeah.
anti-sexism, anti-racism, all those. And then I suppose because I got older, I was interested in looking at ageism because it was so apparent in the media, particularly in England.
with the images of fashion models, the particular height, particular weight,
Yeah.
and then you have old people in fashion magazines, and you've also modeled for some.
Yes, but it's not, it's not sort of a lot of them. It's a bit of tokenism still.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like
How so?
Naomi Campbell, the black model, and she said she has tremendous arguments, that she's been there over 20 years, but there aren't that many more black models in England. And it's the same with the older models. You'll find in the film, one of the model in the film says, who's 85, says, there is a time now when older models happen, but actually you also see in the film that actually it doesn't happen. It's still tokenism.
Really?
Yeah, I was just fortunate in that I felt I could use the modelling situation if I could meander my way in as a campaign against ageism. But we'll see in the film that it doesn't quite come off.
Now, how relevant is this? As you've been around the world,
Yes.
and you've gotten a lot of perspective from various people around the world. Now, how do you see this? Even with third world countries, we could say
Yes,
Fiji,
yes,
and
yes.
how relevant is this?
Well, you see style in every country. So it doesn't matter what the racial aspect is or the culture, because I've been in Sudan and the colours are amazing, and in parts of India and Bangladesh where I worked, people would put their sheets and their saris and their clothes out on the riverbanks in the morning, and the colour was amazing. to go with the foliage. You know, it was just remarkable. So I think it is relevant. I think people do love dressing up in all sorts of different cultures. Certainly in England, the different cultures there are very sometimes much more flamboyant than the dull English.
And Africa,
Greys,
it's
absolutely
an explosion of color
amazing
in their outfits.
Yes, and in South London you get the African shops, which are a riot of colour in the windows. But in England, then you have the sort of the top shop aspects of the whites and the greys and the very. Yes.
I like how she paints England as dull.
Well, I don't mean to be completely depressing, but yeah.
All right. Well, how has the movie changed? How have you felt? Like, has there been a little bit of change?
In me?
Yes, with you.
Yes, because we've all gone on to do other things. That's what's amazing about the film. It just didn't stop at that. We've all gone on to do other things. And tomorrow night there's a showing of the film at USP, and that's at 7, I think, something like that. But that does show that that life doesn't stop, and even the film has not been, oh, that's it, finished. But it still carries on. We've all carried on with doing different things.
Well, we'll carry on talking about this right after this short break on Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and talking about ageism and how important it is, well, style is to us all. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and the movie Fabulous Fashionista. And we'll talk a little bit about this movie coming, and but we're talking to one of the stars of this documentary, and with us in studio. Welcome again, Bridget, or Bodge to many here in Fiji.
Thank you.
Now, Bodge, just before we took the break, you spoke a little bit about how each of the 6 women featured in this movie have gone on to do other things. What have you moved on to?
Well, because I was an educator originally, I work as a gardener now, but I've gone back to running workshops on aging.
Wait, you're 70, how old are you now?
Nearly 78.
Nearly 78, and you're a gardener?
Yes, lovely. I retrained as a gardener about 6 years ago, after the health education around the world sort of diminished a little. So I retrained as a gardener, and I used to have 18 gardens in London that I did, but not so many now. Okay. So I've got time to do other things. Right. So besides the gardening and the media star input that has just sort of happened in the last 2 years, I also run workshops now on positive aging. So I go into schools and work with 15, 16-year-olds who think that life dies at 30, and that they have to remain lunar stick insect thin until that time, and then life diminishes considerably. And I go into universities and work with nurses who now take degrees, of course, and I work with them on looking, again, at positive aging, their work with people who are sometimes quite elderly in the hospitals. And I go into care homes and work with care workers. And so it's progressing, and it's sort of proliferating now in different areas of work and life in England, and hopefully the world, in that looking at age doesn't have to be a deterioration.
Now, when you come to Fiji, and you look at how we are here in Fiji, how do you view it? How do you see it?
Well, of course, the area of death, the time of death is much more low in the population in this country. I mean, ours is now rising to about 100. Yeah. Many people are going to live, 1 in 3 or something, going to live to 100 by the year 2025 or something in Europe. Yeah. But in this country, I think it's still quite low. I think it's about 60.
Well, there are quite a few aspects that we just mentioned in the previous, with the previous guests, of the conditions of
Yes.
livelihoods here in the
Yes.
Pacific Islands too.
Yes.
Plays a very strong factor in it. So
Yes.
let's look at other parts of the world and how the film and what type of responses that you've gotten.
Yes. Quite amazing, apart from the people on the streets who were sort of on the streets, on public transport, in shops. They were approaching all of us after the film showed.
The initial
At least
reaction.
three times a day. My friends couldn't believe it until they were with me when people were approaching me. Amazing, just saying how inspirational the film was, which just showed that the media has got it wrong. That life does not have to deteriorate, and you don't have to retire people at, certainly on television, the newscasters don't have to be all men with silver hair and young girls with brown and black hair.
Is that still apparent in television?
Absolutely. The most popular woman newscaster in England has said she has to keep dyeing her hair. If she has a grey hair, she won't get a job. She'll be demoted, sacked.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Well, and you'd think that, with the advancement of work on development and advancement for women, you'd think that this would have changed.
You'd think so. It hasn't. So there's still discrimination there. And in this country too, I think there's something, obviously, there's something that needs to be, looked at about aging. Because I know the climate does play an important part. I mean, I feel we're walking to Flagstaff. I have to get a taxi back now. I never did that. I could walk everywhere.
It has become increasingly hot.
It has.
And obviously the effects of climate change is very real here in the
It
Pacific.
is, and it's much more apparent than in the West, where we can talk about it, but actually it's not affecting us very much.
All right, let's talk about you again, because well, you've had
Lovely, I love it.
well, let's talk about the style. All right, and you've also done a little bit of modeling.
Yes.
How did that come up?
I was interested on the whole ageism thing. I thought, well, I suppose modeling, I could become a model maybe. Let's try that. So to on a political stance, you understand, to refute the whole ageism bit in society. So I went into various modeling agencies with lots of portfolio photographs, which were really quite interesting, I thought.
And we'll be seeing some of these.
Yes, and they didn't really want to know.
Really?
Yes, but I did find a young French designer who was making clothes for older women. Dreadful title, Old Ladies Rebellion, but I did do a collection for her, and that's how I started. And a New York photographer who specializes in photographing older New York women. He's done a book called Advanced Style, Harry Seth Cohen. And he came and photographed me, and I was in the book, one of the few, I think, English people. And that's when the director saw me in the book, and that's when I was asked to be in the film.
Now, the director is Sue, now I've forgotten her surname. Sue Bourne.
Yeah.
Sue Bourne. And how well was working with her?
Yes, it was amazing. I mean, she is a very brilliant director. Fantastic. And all of us did about 5 days filming. Amazing.
All right, we'll continue to talk a little bit more about the film and also just about how much more work that you've still got left to do.
Absolutely.
Right here on Gold FM, Speak Your Mind, we're talking about Fabulous Fashionista, a movie that you all owe to see.
Robbie.
Welcome back to Gold FM, Speak Your Mind, right here on, Gold FM. We're talking about Fabulous Fashionista, and with me is one of the stars of the show, and that's Bridget Sojourner, and, well, she's more known as a Bodge here in Fiji. Now, we've been talking about the movie and how it has changed you, and how much more work you've done since making the movie in 2013. That's a few years back.
Yeah.
And the work that you've done so far and how it has changed the rest of your co-actors in the movie.
Yeah.
Now, the other five ladies, do you still get on? And who are these five other women?
Yes, there's Baroness Trumpington, who is in the House of Lords. She's the oldest woman in the House of Lords. And then there's Sue Kreitzman, who's an artist, and she's just had a huge window in Selfridges, one of the main stores in the middle of London.
Really?
She's one of 6 older artists over 60 who've been chosen to have a whole window there, and all her artifacts are there. Then there's Jean, who actually, her relative did a painting of her, and it won second prize in the BP National Portrait exhibition at one of the National Portrait Galleries. And Daphne is still modelling, and Jilly is still, she's still running, she's still choreographing, I don't know that word, and being a choreographer. And she's made a video of her exercises. So all of us are still working and have progressed into doing different things after the film. So it's amazing, isn't it?
I mean, I couldn't think of this, like, ever being made a film like this. How were you selected, or how were you selected?
I don't know how the others were, but I as I said, Sue saw my picture through Ari in the book, and yes, and said, oh, and I think she knew Fanny too, who did the collection that I was in. So there was in a network, and yeah.
So,
and now I'm, still approached by, I think I've had 2 emails since I've been here, which is only 3 weeks. From different countries asking me to do different articles, and yeah.
well, there's the movie. I mean, I haven't seen the film, but basically follows your lives and also looks at how you look at style.
Yes, it's really about our lives, and it's about our lives now, and I think that's quite an interesting aspect. A young woman was saying the other day how she thought it was here in Fiji. She thought it was interesting that the film focused on the now, rather than, a lot of older people talk and reflect, and their past lives become more apparent, whereas these people are still sort of progressing.
That's very interesting, and it makes you even want to see this movie more.
Yes.
Because of that, because of not having to look back at what you've come, what your life was, because that's how people look at how, when you have someone of an older age, to look at their past life and not what they're going through.
Yes.
So, how long was filming?
Well, as I think it was about 5 days each, so it was quite a lot.
Okay.
And then, and then it was shown on Channel 4 just one night, and it had this most amazing response. I had Japanese people from Japan, people from Mexico, and I'm sure all the others had too. All these responses from all these other countries.
Oh, that's amazing, and that's because it's been obviously shown in other countries.
Yes,
hence the response.
Yeah.
Now
we're showing it here.
Now you've already shown there was a private viewing.
Yes, a private viewing for YWCA people, and it was this very small private viewing. But this is a public one tomorrow night.
That's right. At the University of the South Pacific.
Right.
And at the ICT Theatre.
Yes. At about 7, I think.
Okay. 7 o'clock?
Yes. And it's not just going to be the film shown. So it's not just a sort of shots of yes, it's not just a film. I won't go into that now. It's not just the film, but we're going to have a panel discussion, hopefully an intergenerational discussion, and then questions on the floor. So it's a sort of broad interest viewing and discussion responses about aging.
And it's also going to challenge a few things also about how cultures are in the Pacific.
Yes.
So it should be very interesting and should not be missed.
Yes, not be missed.
All right. Fashionista. Well, actually, I shouldn't say fabulous fashionista, but the fabulous fashionista is the name of the
Yes.
the movie.
Yes.
And if you can, do get yourself or watch this. And also, we'll be seeing our our very own guest, Bodge. Thank you again for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Vitaly. It was great.
And we're looking forward to more of your work and
Thank
more
you.
movies to come. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but more education.
More
all over
education.
the world.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your stay here.
Thank you very much.
And that quickly wraps up our show this afternoon. Thank you again for joining us, and do join us again on the next Speak Your Mind right here on Gold FM.